Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Easy Astro Images channel. I am Chad. Today we're going to take a deeper dive into Pixinsight. What we're going to do is we're going to actually process the Horsehead Nebula, and we're going to be using Sean from Visible Dark's advanced beginner course. It's the second one that he's done. I highly recommend that you guys go out and spend, I think it's 25 or 30 bucks to get his course. You get his process icons that he's went through and set up to go ahead and run some of those automatic processes. Now, ironically, the image that he has for us to process in his data set is the Horsehead Nebula itself. I shot the Horsehead the other day with my own stuff, and I want to try and follow his stuff to the T and see exactly what kind of images we can get out of it. So let's get started. Before we start, I definitely want to say that I cannot recommend this enough for the value you get for the dollar. Both of his courses, get the data to play with. He walks you through everything in this course. Of course, I'm not going to show you everything. That would not be fair to him. You need to go out and pick up his course. But I can honestly say that I don't think anything has helped me improve my Pixinsight use and my images than his video tutorials have. I also subscribe to Adam Block stuff. It has taught me a lot, and it's almost overwhelming, and it's a lot in a different way. So I'm fortunate enough that I was able to actually get all that stuff, and I'll probably get more in the future as well. But if you just want to spend a little bit of money to get better at Pixinsight, go with this Visible Dark course. I'm sure you're going to see how much better I got. I'm pretty amazed at how things looked from this year to last year. Fantastic. If only my William Optics didn't have these pinch stars in this picture, it would be one that I would actually think about printing. So let's go. So we got everything stacked, aligned, and all that kind of good stuff. The only difference that I used between what Sean used is I actually used the normalized scale gradient to go ahead and calculate everything and then integrate them out separately. I kind of like doing that. It seems it does give me better results. Adam Block has proven that as well in his videos that I've been watching. So that's kind of my process. All I've done is so far is just crop it, and now you can see that I'm getting ready to run a dynamic background extraction. Now, when you buy Sean's course, he actually gives you these process icons that are already set up and configured, and these are just kind of good basic startup stuff. I really haven't found any images that these have not worked on. You might want to adjust your sample size to make them a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, and that's pretty much about it. So we're just going to go ahead and run a subtraction on this real quick that I've moved everything around, and we're just going to replace the target and discard the background model. We'll go ahead and close that out, and we will restretch the image. And that is what we're looking at right now. So not much of a change, kind of clean things up a little bit, but it is all good. Now, the next thing Sean likes to do is color calibration. You can do these a different way. You can do it with the photometric color calibration tool, which he's got right over here in the process icons. You can also use the auto color script, which I actually really like to use. It seems to do a really good job. And again, I have not had an image that this hasn't worked on. I've got a link to how to set up this auto color script in the description below. Add it to your Pixinsight repository. It's literally one click and go, and you're going to see that everything's going to balance out. The blues are going to pop a little bit more, and we're going to get rid of a little bit of that green cast, and the reds might get a little bit better as well. And we're all done with that. Everything looks really good as far as the color and stuff goes. And now we got a decision to make. Sean does run deconvolution on his Horsehead in the tutorial. I really don't think I need to run deconvolution. We're not going to benefit a whole lot from it, mainly because we are at a perfect sampling radius here. We are smack dab in the middle for our scene conditions and everything. And if we want to try to capture details in the end, we can actually do that stuff after we have stretched this and moved into a non-linear state. So I think right now what we're going to do is go ahead and move in to noise and start doing noise reduction. Now, I have been trying different things with noise reduction. Typically on an image, if I just want to see how things go, I'll run the easy processing suite. That does a great job. It's very aggressive. I've toned it down a little bit lately just because I'm finding that you really want some of this grain in here. You don't obviously want all of it and the color and stuff like that. But when you smooth things out and make it really look buttery and plasticky, it does kind of take away from the image. And for some reason, they look a little bit worse when you convert them to JPEGs and put them on Facebook. They look a lot more blotchy. So I kind of like to leave a little bit of in there. So I've been using a combination of John Rista's techniques, Adam Block's, but we're going to focus on what Sean wants us to do on this one right here. So now we're going to start some noise reduction, and actually we're going to throw this into another video where we're going to compare different methods of taking care of noise before we stretch our image, because if we don't take care of the noise now, then it's just going to get worse as we proceed. So what we're going to do is Sean has provided us with a multi-scale linear transform predefined process. So we can go ahead and make different adjustments and stuff up here if we would like to. But what we're going to do is make a linear mask, and we'll uncheck that real quick, and that will allow us to change all of this stuff here. This theory is to go ahead and just kind of take a more iterative approach by doing things 5 times at a lower level on the layers versus blasting it all and doing 100% on maybe 2 or 3 or 4 layers. He's also recommended to do it on the lightness first. You can select different targets down here, and most of the time, most people will just run this on RGB, but he says, as well as I agree, we just don't get a lot out of that. So we're going to select lightness, and then what we're going to do is we're going to actually have to make a mask that will work in conjunction with this tool right now. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we need to go ahead and make our mask. You can see that I've also made 3 previews here just to kind of take a peek at how well this is going to work. And in order to make our mask, a lot of people kind of forget about this. It's a linear mask, so it's not going to work if your image is stretched. So we need to turn off the auto stretch and then click on linear mask, and then go ahead and click on the real-time preview. And the way this is looking here is everything that's black is going to be protected. White, you're going to have full on noise reduction applied, and then gray, of course, is going to kind of give you a mixture. So it's kind of up to you, like how much you want to add to this and such. How heavy you want to go. If you go, say, all the way up, you can see that it's just going to protect almost everything. So I like to get it down where it's going to go ahead and cover all the stars and a little bit of everything else. I don't mind if a little bit of grain pops through on the back and we don't have that kind of protection. So, that's why I wouldn't mind like kind of raising my amplification up a little bit. But I think we're just going to leave it at 300 and just kind of go with that right there and see how things work. We can always adjust it to see if it's just too much. So we'll close the real-time preview and go ahead and just click on one of these preview buttons here. And all we got to do is just drag and drop this now onto here, and we can see how well it works. All right, so let's just start with our background here. And in order to get this to work, what we need to do is uncheck preview mask here, or it's not going to work. And we can see the grain and stuff that we got going on inside the image. And we can just drag and drop to the preview here and see what kind of example we're going to get. All right, that cleaned up things pretty good. I like the way that is looking. We still have some grain going on here. Let's take a look at this preview of the flame and do the same thing. Really clean that up and still have plenty of grain on there. We can go back and forth between the previews by clicking up here, and you should be able to see that that is going to smooth things out pretty good. And it doesn't really look like we're losing a whole lot of detail because we still have some of this grain left here. We'll go one more time here on the Horsehead Yeah, and I like the way that looks. It's not super overly aggressive. The background doesn't look ultimately like plasticky or anything. So I would pretty much say that we're safe to apply this to the entire image. So we went ahead and applied the entire noise reduction to the entire image, and you can see that we are in pretty good shape. We got pretty good grain left in there, preserving detail. If we go back before, you can see how that is definitely a little bit grainier, and now we are a little less, but we still got some of that in there. And that's using all the built-in tools inside the multi-scale linear transform tool. Now you can do noise reduction on an illuminance layer if you prefer to, but you will have to make your own mask. So you won't be able to use this built-in tool. You would actually have to go up here and extract the lightness, and then you're going to have to histogram transform. And the whole idea here is to make the background completely black and everything else completely white. And then you can actually use these same settings as well. But we're not going to do that in this case because I'm pretty happy with these results, and there's no sense in making this more complicated and doing extra work. So now what we're going to do is we are going to tackle some of this color noise using the exact same tools that we already have set up for us. So we need to go down here to target and click on chrominance, and we're going to need to make an entire new mask so we can target that noise. So we need to kill the auto stretch here and click on linear mask, and then click on the circle here to turn on the real-time preview, and click on preview mask. And we don't want our mask looking like that. It's like a bug in Pixinsight. We want it to be white like this. So same as before, black is 100% protected. White is going to get the reduction done on it. And then, of course, everything in between is going to get, whatever level that we want. So you can kind of play around with this as far as what level you want to. And this is a little bit buggy. This is like one of the things in Pixinsight that's kind of weird. And to get it to work correctly, you just want to enable and re-enable the preview mask, and it'll come up. So it looks like that's I'm going to try lowering this down a little bit more. I'd like to get inside there a little bit more. There we go. Make sure this isn't as dark so we can get some color reduction inside there. So I think that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and turn off the real-time preview, and then we'll stretch this again. And that is preview number 2. So let's just go look at the flame here. And we can see that we've got the color all mixed inside here. And let's just go ahead and grab the triangle and apply it to this preview. Now that we're happy with our mask, let's just go ahead and plop this into one of our previews here, and we can watch this color noise just kind of disappear on us a little bit. This will take a little bit to work on the layers. All right, we can see that that worked pretty good. Now, one thing to do I did notice is that if you make your mask too strong, which basically means that you're protecting too much, then when you run this, you're going to get an even grainier picture. So if you notice that you're getting extra grain and it's not taking away the color noise, then you need to go back into your preview mask and you need to lower your amplification number. Let's just test this on another preview here. So here we go with the horse itself. And we'll just drop this on here. And there we go. A little bit of reduction. Not too bad. We still got some green in there, but we can take care of that later. But you can see the green pixels just disappearing as I do a before and after. So very good. Nothing super aggressive. It's what I like. We still got some grain, which will keep our detail. Just going to apply it to the entire image. So this looks really good. Everything is smoothed out. We've reduced some of the color noise in here, and we could just take a quick pan around. You can see that now we're starting to pick up some of that splotchiness and stuff like that that we'll typically get when we do some linear noise reduction. Some of that will disappear when we do our stretch. some of it will come back, and then we'll be able to do some more noise reduction once we have the image stretched. So when it comes to stretching the image, a couple different ways that you can do this. Sometimes I like to pull out all the stars and stretch all of them separately. Sometimes I just like to go ahead and stretch the entire image on its own. You can use the easy processing suite, easy soft stretch, or you can use the histogram transformation. So it's probably easier for people just to use the histogram transformation. Now you can do a couple things. If you can either stretch the image yourself, or if you like the way that this looks, you could just literally apply this stretch to your actual image. But I want to go ahead and just stretch this myself. So what I'm going to do is cancel the auto stretch, and then we're going to reset everything here and link the image and click on and open the real-time preview. And then we're just going to start dragging and dropping here. So we're going to drag this middle point up to there and click on the black circle to apply. Then we're going to need to reset. And then we're going to do it again. I'm just going to bring it up here to the bottom of the foot and then apply that. And then reset the tool. Now we can start working up this bottom part here and our black level. Now you don't have to go crazy stretching all the way up into here if you don't want to. Some people will, but you can see that we're clipping off a lot of data. And then if you move it back over this way, you know, there's definitely ways to pull out details. You know, you can see all of this that's going on. So definitely take more time stretching. That's one thing that I have learned recently, is that spending more time here and being a little bit more aggressive with the stretch is okay, because we can always lower the black level of the image itself. So you know, you want your histogram to be as close to the left up here as possible for sure, but there's a lot going on in this image and I really want to bring all of it out. I mean, there is just nebulosity everywhere. And I don't mind just bringing that up a little bit to clip a little bit off the bottom, just so that way we can have all of this amazing stuff that's going on. So I like that right there. We're going to go ahead and just go with that. And that is going to be our final stretched image. And we're going to get to work on it now. You can see that we're still decently smooth. There's a lot of different things that are going on in the image now that we didn't have before with just the regular auto stretch. Way more colors and stuff. So we've, man, this image really just came to life. That's for sure. Typically now is when people will start with the SCNR and take out green. So I like to leave a little bit of green in. So I'm going to lower this down to about 0.8 and see how that looks. Guess I'll just type it in. Be a little bit easier. And let's go ahead and apply that. Oh yeah, that looks awesome. Look at the blues and the browns and everything. Wow, that looks lovely. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and tackle some of this noise. We can get rid of some of this stuff that we created after we stretched stuff, even though this image still looks fantastic. And we are going to be using the TGV denoise tool. This is what you use on stretched data. And you can run this in a couple different modes. We're going to run it in the lab mode. Some people prefer the lab mode. Some people prefer the RGBK. In the lab mode, we're actually able to tailor both of these settings to the lightness and the chrominance. So that's why we're going to be doing that. In order to do this though, the first thing we need to do is we need to make a mask. So we're going to open our histogram transformation. We're going to click over here and we are going to extract the lightness. And there is our lightness, and we're going to reset this and we're going to track this image here and go to the real-time preview. And now what Sean says for us to do is to go ahead and move this black point over. We want to clip it so we make a really dark background, and we want like half of the curve to be clipped. So that's about it right there. And then, so just pull in, even though it's disappearing up here, just pull into about half of your histogram. And then we can boost the whites right here as well, so we can, you know, offer more protection. So it's kind of up to you how much you want to protect. So I'm just going to put like a slight bend in it right there. And then we'll go ahead and click the square here to apply that. And we'll close that out. And now we have our mask here. Let's just go ahead and change it to TGV mask, so we know what we have. All right, so let's just get this going here and take a look at it. So we've made a couple previews here, and we are going to drag and drop and apply the mask, and we can minimize that and move it over here out of the way. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to invert it, because we want the protection applied everywhere else, and we want, you know, to hit the black stuff in the background. And you can see that, you know, maybe we were a little bit too aggressive with our mask generation, but that's okay. We'll see how things go. We'll go ahead and hide the mask, and then we'll just start looking at our previews, and we'll try these basic default settings here and see how they work. And that's a pretty subtle change. We've got to zoom in a little bit. This is before and after, before and after. I'm just doing Control Shift and Z. And that's kind of like what we're looking for. We could be a little bit more aggressive with it if we wanted to, but you know, we like to have that grain in there. So let's apply it here to the flame. And again, pretty decent results. After, before, after, before, the Horsehead, after, before, after, before. Now let's say that that wasn't enough for you, so you want to like really crank it up. So the two numbers you want to play with here are the strength and the edge protection. I would recommend starting with one first and see what happens, even though they work together. So let's just say that we want to apply a strength of 7 and see what happens. So kind of smooth things out a little bit. It's not super horrible. You can see that we still got like a lot of grain in there, but let's say that you wanted to go even hardcore. Let's say you're going for plastic. So we cranked up that edge protection there, and you can just see how everything literally just turned to like a painting. So we're definitely looking at just a little bit too much right there. Now, at this point, you could drop down the strength again or the edge protection. I think we're going to go back down to an edge protection of 3 and a strength of about 5.75. Let's see how that looks, and we can get kind of a good result in the middle. It's all going to be up to you and your taste and what you're looking for. And I'm pretty good with that. We still got some grain and some detail and stuff like that going on. Don't want to be super aggressive with it. Let's see how it looks on the flame. Not too bad. Nothing really bad going on there. And now let's check on the Horsehead. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I mean, just enough. Do a before and after, and you can see how everything just kind of melts away, and I don't really see a whole lot of loss of detail. We still got our shadows going on here. Probably don't want to go any more aggressive than that. I see a little bit of artifact and ringing going on, but that's just kind of my data with the stars that I had at that point. So I think what we'll do is just go ahead and apply this to the entire image. All right, that is done and applied to the entire image. Now what we're going to do is we are going to pretty much use the same settings, 575 and 3 for the chrominance. I know this is going to work out, but We can just go ahead and do a preview here so you can see that. There's like not a lot of color noise in here because we got rid of a lot of that green before, but you can definitely see that it eliminated a lot of that stuff and did a good job as far as how zoomed in we are here. And we'll zoom in here on the Horsehead and just drop that in. And same thing, just clean things up a little bit. Looks like we lost a little bit of sharpness, but that is okay. I still see some grain going on in there, and we'll go ahead and take it. So let's go ahead and just apply this prominence TGV denoise to the entire image. So now we're going to work with this ACDNR tool, which again is under processes, noise reduction, and it's right there. And what this does is this gets rid of a lot of these like weird splotches that you will get. And if we go ahead and just make a preview right there and take a look at it, and you'll see just kind of like some black specks and things that are kind of left over from the noise reduction that we've done before. And this is what ACDNR like cleans up. And we're going to run it on lightness and chrominance, and we need to make a mask. So the first thing we'll do is click on preview here and the real-time preview, and we're just going to make ourselves a mask. And right off the bat, that looks pretty good. We can maybe drop this down or maybe increase protection a little bit. It's kind of up to us. Again, black is going to protect and white is going to get the full Monty. So we'll go ahead and just leave. So we'll go ahead and just leave that there and see how it goes and unclick that. And so now it is enabled, and we'll go ahead and pull up the little preview here, and let's just drop this on this preview and see what happens. Boom, totally got rid of all that stuff. Now you kind of might be thinking, well, now we really look plasticky, and I kind of agree, but we are zoomed in like super close, but that just does a super job on getting rid of this stuff. Like this should all be smooth. This signal is not smooth. It's just not supposed to be there. So we definitely like that. And that's the way that we're going to do it and apply it to the image. And we're going to do that on the lightness and the chrominance. Both of the actual values should be about the same. So if we go back to that preview, and we've already applied, so there is with both applied to the chrominance layer and the lightness layer. So that has now been applied, and you can kind of see now that we have a little bit more of a smoother background, how everything else kind of pops out, like all of this detail that we have here. If we do a Control Shift and Z, you can kind of see how everything goes. Or if we do a before and after, zoom in here a little bit, before, after, you can definitely see how that stuff cleaned up a little bit and really didn't do much damage to the image. I mean, everything looks great. If anything, again, it just kind of pieced these things together a little bit, all of this extra detail that we have here. So now what we can do is we can work on some details in like these washed out areas, like the flame, these little blue nebulas and stuff right here. And what we can do is we can use the HDR multi-scale transform tool. Now we don't want to apply this to the entire image. If we did that, then it would probably look pretty bad. I'll just show you what would happen. It actually wasn't too bad. It wasn't super aggressive. It brought back some details, but you know, again, we go back, you can see that it did dim things a little bit, and we don't really want to do that. So let's just focus on these nice little nebulas here and on the flame. So let's test out, make a couple previews. We'll do a preview on the flame. We'll do a preview right here on this little nebula. And then we'll do another one right here. So the way this works is the lower the number, the more aggressive, and the higher the number, the less aggressive. So if we put it at like 4, you can see that's just totally going to just like sharpen everything up. And if we put it at 8, it's going to help us out a little bit compared to where we were at 6. So you can see it's revealing some nice details. I think 7 is a good compromise for this area right here. It just kind of dims it a little bit. So I like 7 on that and the way that looks. Now let's look at these nebulas. Let's try 7 on this one. Dimmed it a little bit. Let's try 6. Okay, that looks pretty good. And let's see if 6 works on this one. Oh yeah. And if we went to 7, it's still a little bright. So what we can do is we're going to use the game script and we're going to create some little custom masks to go ahead and do that. And I have the game script in the description below. It's super easy to use. Go ahead and delete the one I already created. So let's just go ahead and make one first. You can make 2 different kinds, ellipses or multi-point. We're going to do an ellipses gradient. So let's just click on add and it's going to put it right here in the middle. And let's just go ahead and expand this baby out here to cover the flame. We can drag it down here so we're not going to be getting on attack in there. And then if we just go ahead and click on OK, now it made us a mask. But we're going to need to blur this out a little bit. So we're going to go to convolution and convolution, and we're just going to drag this on here and just blur it out a little bit so it's not as hard around the edges. So that looks good. We're going to part convolution here because we're going to need it. And we will apply this mask over here. And we'll go ahead and minimize that. And now let's look at the flame again. And I think we wanted to do a 7 on the flame. Yep. That's what we wanted to do. So let's go back here. And if we go to show mask, we can see that everything is protected except for the flame. So we can hide the mask and then just go ahead and drag and drop this onto the image. And we should see the flame just kind of dim a little bit. Boom, just like that. So now we got the process of removing the mask, and then we're going to open the game script again. And we're going to do the same thing for those other 2 areas. Let's delete that one. Let's drag this over here, and that will allow us to hit up these 2 at the same time. You can kind of turn that and bend that a little bit. And we'll click on make mask. And same thing as before, we're going to open convolution. And we're going to blur that out a little bit. We'll minimize that. And let's go ahead and drag and drop this over here. And we can minimize this mask here. And if you want to take a look just to make sure, see that we are only applying it to there. So we'll hide that again. And then I think we wanted to use a 6 on there. So let's just drag and drop it onto the image. All right, and we saw that stuff just kind of lighten up a little bit more detail going on there. So let's go ahead and remove that mask, and let's do this one more time. Going to drag it over here a little bit and then just kind of shrink it down and just park it right here over that little nebula. And there it is, and we're going to convolute that again. Blur it up, and then we'll apply it. I don't think we need to show it this time. We know what's going on. Let's clean this up a little bit. And let's do number 6. Yeah, we saw the detail coming off of that a little bit more. We want to, we can try number 5. Yeah, I like that. A little stronger. Pretty happy with the way that all looks. We can go ahead and remove our mask and delete all of our previews, and we are almost done processing this image. Now, one of the coolest processes in Pixinsight is local histogram equalization. And this is basically gonna I'm just gonna show you here. It's gonna totally just either nuke your image or bring it to life. So the default amounts, if we reset them, 64 and 1.0, you can see what this does in the real-time preview. Just not good at all. What I found is, you lower this amount down to about a quarter, so 0.25. And then I'm going to bump up this kernel radius just a bit. And you can see the change that's going on right there now. And we can go back and forth here. So this is with it off. This is with it on. And you can kind of see how it's going to recover details and it's going to bring some things out and some stuff it's going to take away. So some people like this and some people don't. It kind of depends. I think it's making more to the image than it's hurting it. So I'm going to go ahead and just use it because we can. So we'll just apply it here and it'll take a few minutes for that to complete. And that's it. So there is our local histogram equalization. And we just have an image that has just stuff blowing up all over the place in here. Man, it looks good. Now it's time to start working with the curves transformation, and we're going to add saturation and all that kind of fun stuff to our image. You usually will see a lot of people will use curves a little bit earlier, and Sean in this demonstration of his awesome beginner course here pretty much saves it to the end. It's like the icing on the cake. So the first thing that he recommends to do is let's work on the stars first. So you can work on your stars any way that you want to. You can use StarNet, work on them individually, bring them back together using pixel math or whatever. He recommends to use the actual star mask tool. And if you take a look at my settings here, moving some things around and some sliders, applying that to the image, that is going to give us a pretty good mask like this, which is going to cover up all of our stars. So what we can do is actually just drag that onto the image. And when we do that, we can minimize the actual star mask. And if we want to go up to mask and show it, you can see that red is protect. So it's protecting everything in the background. So we're good. So we'll hide the mask. And now we can actually work on just the stars. So we got the saturation tab clicked here by clicking S, turn on the real-time preview. And if you watch the stars, you will see that the color on these things will just start to pop. Watch down in the right-hand corner and watch all of those red stars just like start to pop out. And this usually works best by applying it in 2 or 3 rounds. And again, it's just going to be kind of up to you, like how much color you actually want to add in to your picture. I'm just going to do 2 rounds like that and call it a day. I think that looks really good. Now that we got that done, we will go ahead and remove that. And we need to work on the color on the entire image. What we're going to need to do is go to Process, Range Selection, and we want to make a range mask. So we're going to click on the real-time preview. And these are kind of the settings that I have right here. You don't want a really sharp mask. You want to get rid of as many of the background stars as possible. And that is done by, increasing and lowering your fuzziness here. This one worked out pretty good for me at 0.4. And then when you're done with that, just going to go ahead and press the button here to make that happen. We're going to drag and drop that onto our image and we can minimize it. And again, if you just want to make sure that you are doing what you want to, you can see that red protects and we are actually just affecting this area right here. And again, you can just do whatever you want to do with this. You can go as far as you want to if you want to try to bring out more color down in here or whatever. We got the mask on. We'll click on the real-time preview, and I am just going to bump up saturation a little bit at a time. Don't want to be super crazy with it. Make it look all wacky. Something like that. You know, we don't want that. So just a little bit of, yeah, I like that right there. We got some nice pinkish red going on. The flame looks fantastic. We'll go ahead and apply that. And there we go, guys. We are going to remove the mask and we're done. That is it. We've got us a beautiful image of the Horsehead thanks to this awesome beginner's course that I cannot recommend enough to anybody. Definitely support him in his adventures to make us better astrophotographers. I hope this is a good example on what you can do with a little bit of time. And if you really want to go and deep dive, learn this stuff. Thanks a lot, Sean, for providing such great material. Thanks a lot, everybody. We will talk to you guys later. Peace.